Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We're the Bunny Hug Farmers. My name's Tyler Janin. I'm here with my co-host, Dallas LeDuc. We're having a lot of fun doing these. We're very excited to be back again. So, Dallas, what have you been up to lately? You were texting me there the other day, and you're having some problems with some tires.
Well, the world's most famous 9280 kind of let us down a little bit here. It's pretty modified, and we got an aftermarket set, or actually not aftermarket, they're a set of wheels off of that in the middle set off at 1150 versatile just to put the triples on that tractor. And between how many hours were on them wheels when we got them, plus the hours that we've done with them, plus wide spacers, we're actually stressing out the middle set of versatile rims and we're breaking them apart. But my claim to fame is actually a trained welder, and the hire a tire shop to come out, rip them off the tractor so I can put them in the shop and weld them up was just getting expensive. So we decided we'd just bite the bullet and buy all the bead breaking tools. But then, I took your advice and went and got that. But the next thing is, I don't know how to run the damn thing. It was, Tyler, how does this work? Is this supposed to fit here? That's how you do it? Tyler's like, well, mine doesn't work at all like that. But so that's what we've been at, working on that tractor and still cleaning grain and, get at that. And we're doing Durham right now. So we're almost done Durham. So between working the shop and hauling grain to and from the elevator where the cleaner is, I guess I've been staying pretty busy.
That does sound busy. Did you get the tractor put back together? Did you get the tire splitting tool to work the way you wanted it to?
Yeah, we got her working. I had to put if you put a 2x6 between the two tires when you're breaking the inside bead, it would just explode a 2x6. But if you put a few layers of plywood in there, with other plywood's built differently, then it could push against the other tire and not break it apart and shove the bead off. It's just a little bit of learning going on there, especially with something new that we've never used before. But oh yeah, it's off. Well, actually, she's in the shop as we speak, sitting on 6 tires right now. So there's still 6 more that's got to get put back on. But the guy should be upgrading tractors, but sometimes the situation on each farm is different. And that old mechanical big cam Cummins is a true workhorse. Them power shift transmissions are tough, and they've got good power, good hydraulics, and can pull them big rollers. And if something's stuck, that's the tractor you want to be heading towards you to pull you out, because it'll pull just about anything stuck out of the mud. Being a triple tractor, it's got a lot of grip. So what have you been up to?
Well, on some of our older tractors, like we have a pile of 94 series case tractors, red cabs. And as anybody knows, the stereos aren't that great in them. So I went on a website. The website's actually called Shoop. They're a company out of the States, and they sell replacement radios for them. So if anybody knows how them case tractors are, up in your headliners where all your climate control, wiper, and radio controls are, well, that's, in most cases, that's not necessarily set up to put a single DIN radio in. So that whole panel needs to be changed out. Well, this company, they sell speakers, they sell that panel that I need to upgrade it to a single DIN, and they also sell a radio with it. So these tractors are 40, 45 years old. Well, everything's due for an upgrade in there stereo-wise. So to change the speakers, you got to drop the whole headliner. Well, when you drop the headliner, that exposes the condenser and all the climate control stuff and everything. Well, on a tractor, that doesn't take very long to get dirty. So you clean all that up, change the speakers, try not to break the headliner, putting it back in. Then you put the new radio in. Then you got to spend about 2 hours cleaning the cab because you got about 4 years worth of dirt laying on the floor of the cab. So
it's probably got that old foam in there. And as that foam gets older and breaks down, it just instantly turns into dust.
Well,
while you're at it, you should have done the old sunroof kit and just cut a few holes up there too.
Well, when I did have everything apart, I did have a sunroof, and it is weird being able to stand up in that cab and your head is sticking out through the roof. I almost felt like Fred Flintstone.
Just gotta get your feet on the ground and away you go.
Just gotta get my feet on the ground and I'll be yabba dabba doo.
Yep. Speaking of yabba dabba doing, we have another lucky guest come to join us in the old Bunny Hug Farmer here podcast. I'd like to introduce, and a big thanks to Ken Sarauer from Anaheim, Saskatchewan, to step on here with us and do an episode with us. Because I know a few of you maybe have seen Ken. He's quite a bit on TikTok there, and he's kind of the king of the lives between, I've seen lots of his TikTok lives, and I guess he used to do Reddit lives, and really entertaining. A real decent farmer. It looks like he got good line of machinery and pretty good dirt, and makes me jealous. He's still got snow and I got none. So welcome to the podcast, Ken.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Well, it's our pleasure. That's the whole point we do with this podcast, is just to talk to agriculture producers throughout the province, the Canada, the whole continent is kind of our goal some days to talk to somebody from everywhere involved in agriculture. So, that's what we are really enjoying and really learning lots about how, 5 hours apart, we're all the same, but we're all farms are all the same, but also different at the same time. It's so impressive.
It is. From what I could tell, our area is fairly similar to Tyler's, but Dallas, it seems like you farm in a different world.
I'm kind of in the Palliser Triangle, kind of the Bermuda Desert of farming down here, I guess. It's, like we've talked before, I wish I farmed in a little better area, but this is one of the farms that my great-grandfather purchased in, I think it was 28 when he purchased some of this farm. And that's where my grandfather grew up. That's when my grandfather took over the farm. That's where Dad started the farm. That's where I've taken over some of my grandfather's land. So just through electricity, we're still here. Look over the fence, it's always greener, but I guess you guys battle your own different demons in that good wet dirt you guys have.
Yeah, our demons are moisture and frost. Like we battle too much moisture more than we battle too little for the most part, and frost on both ends of the spectrum.
We have some high elevation land that we battle, not always the moisture side,
Okay.
but it's usually colder, but we do battle, I say we lose pretty well a month a year on that dirt compared to the rest of the farm because of the elevation. We lose 2 weeks in the spring because it'll still be snow and freezing hard down there. And then if there's going to be a frost, it'll happen down there 2 weeks before here. But it's between the main farmyard up there is about 750 feet different in elevation and about 10 miles. So the weather really can change when you go up that high. It's called the bench. There's south of Gull Lake, there's a bench. South of Glentworth here where I'm at, there's a bench. And it's just, you go over the top of that bench, that North American Divide, and it hits 3,300 feet up there. And the water flows from the top of the bench, goes south into basically Fort Peck down to the States, and the north goes into the Old Wives Basin. It divides the continent right through there where the water flows.
So is that where your farm name comes from?
Venture Ridge Farms?
Yeah.
Disaster Ridge Farms, whichever way you want to use it. When you come from the south to the yard here, you go up a little bit of a hill, and Dad always called it like a ridge. And then, I don't know, Dad came up with the name years ago, Venture Ridge Farms, and I've always really liked it. So when we incorporated, that was the first one we wanted to use was Venture Ridge Farms, because it's been an adventure the whole time getting to where we're at. When Dad bought this chunk of dirt and started basically his own farm, like my dad and my grandfather didn't farm together. When Dad bought this quarter in 83, there was one fallen over barn and one dead tree in this yard. And that was it. Everything else we've set up ever since. So all 42 bins, the barn, the corrals, the shop, the house, they've all come since 83. But you must have a pretty good farm history, Ken. What generation are you on the old farm there?
Third generation. My grandpa started our farm kind of during the war in World War II. He was over fighting in the war and then kind of came back in between and started to farm or whatever. And then Dad started farming in the middle to late 70s, middle 70s. And then I kind of took over in 2010. I started farming about 2000.
Your grandfather, when he come back from the war, was he entitled to some land? I know during World War I, they did that for some of the veterans.
No, he was not. He bought this, he farmed with his dad, but it was at a different site or whatever, and then they found this land to buy, and he settled there.
Oh, okay.
So everybody in our area came in from Minnesota in 1910 to 1920, kind of. And everybody was a German.
Okay, that's very cool.
So, yeah.
And how was the year went on for you up there? Good crop, bad crop?
Last year it was a fairly good crop. The canola was below average, and everything else was average to slightly above average. Like the wheat was slightly above average. The oats were well above average. The barley was average to slightly above. So we had a decent year, but with the prices the way they are, it ended up being an average year.
So you mentioned barley there. That spiked my interest because we grow a lot of barley on my farm, malt barley to be specific. Are you a malt barley grower also?
Yes, we are. Our area, for whatever reason, it's always been a big malt barley area. Like you go within 20 miles of circle of us, I bet you 2/3 of the cereals are barley. Where other areas, it's a rarity to see barley, it seems, or like it's a niche crop, right? Where barley just seems to grow really well in our area. Although it seems to be reducing with the new wheat varieties, the wheat is becoming more competitive in yield for sure. Like it used to be, we'd grow a 50 bushel, like it looked like such a beautiful wheat crop where it's just lodged a little bit, and we get 50, 60 bushels an acre, where the barley would be doing 90, 100, right? But now the barley goes 100 to 115 kind of, and the wheat will do 80, 90. So the wheat is definitely caught up in yield compared to barley.
What variety of barley are you growing?
We grow cervasis, have in the past. That's our fourth year with it, and it's a variety exclusive to Canada Malt, and we've had really good luck with it. It's a short variety, it's early, and it yields like gangbusters. But Canada Malt is the only place that takes it, so we're kind of switching out to Churchill now, which Canada Malt seems like the only place that takes that, but at least there's the possibility of other options with Churchill.
Speaking of Churchill, because I also sell our barley to Canada Malt, I have a beer that is brewed through Canada Malt. It probably has some of my barley in it and likely some of yours, but they call it the Churchill Lager.
I'll bet 100% there's none of my barley in that.
I guarantee you there's none of mine either, because mine's still sitting in my bin from last year. So hopefully that goes in next month. I'm really banking on it because I need the money.
Yeah. And for me, there's some neighbors have grown barley down here, and they still do. A lot of it ends up being combined, mainly all into the feed, and then a lot of it gets baled up into feed. So we did grow barley in the 90s, early 2000s. We grew two-row Harrington, but then Durham, barley, we end up over-fertilizing, over-temperaturing, low-yield barley, low test weight. They weren't taking it for malt then. Well, then you're getting $3 for feed. Well, then Durham hit $7 and was yielding almost as good. So we haven't grown barley in a long time just because economically it wasn't there for us. When you live in a desert, we grow desert Durham.
Used to grow that Harrington barley, but the disease on it would get into it and you'd lose a whole bunch of yield. So then we went to Metcalf. Well, then if you didn't get it sold before Christmas time, we found the germ would drop off 25 to 30%. Well, that's makes it hard to get malt for it. So we've actually switched over to growing Copeland, and we've had really good luck with it. We've been growing it for probably 10 plus years. It does produce a lot of straw, and it sometimes does lodge really bad, but we've always gotten malt for it. So it's kind of hard to steer away from something that's been so good to you.
Yeah, we used to grow Copeland as well, and we grew this variety called Meredith at the same time. This Meredith just blew it out of the water. But we sold it to Canada Malt, and again, Canada Malt would be the only place that took it. And we grew it for probably 8, 9 years. And you'd watch the acreage in the Saskatchewan crop insurance, the acreage for it to be like 1,100 acres. I'm like, well, I guess I'm the only grower of it in the province because that's all mine. But it's hard to go away from because it yielded so well. And Synergy's the only one that really compares to it or whatever. And hopefully Churchill does as well.
That Synergy, it doesn't have a super great disease package on it, I've heard. We've never grown it on our farm. We haven't really looked into it too much either.
Last year was the first year we grew it, and the quarter that I grew it on got an extra 3 inches of rain at one spot time, and there was lots of flooded out, so it's hard to judge last year on one quarter. But from what other neighbors say, it's a good variety.
So when you do your in-crop fungicide, do you do full rate or half rate?
I do full rate, and usually we go at fusarium timing, but I'm thinking maybe a guy should we have other neighbors that just do flag leaf, and they've gotten away with it. It's just, what was it, about 10 years ago when fusarium was so bad, it's just really scared. It was so hard to get rid of the barley when it had fusarium in it, that we just always done flag leaf.
We always do full rate as well, and we have a neighbor right beside us. Like, we have land that touches, and he had that same year, he had barley. His barley was touching ours, both Copeland variety, both going to Canada Malt, and he only did a half rate. His was 30 bushels to the acre less than what ours was because he only did a half rate versus us doing the full rate. And both fields were baled, and the straw in his field was black, and ours was that nice gold rich color barley is. So after that, because some years we would do a half rate, and after we seen that, we're just, no, that chemical's cheap compared to missing out on 30 bushels to the acre.
No, I'm not one to cut rates for the most part. I'm usually, I'll add a little bit more just to make sure for the most part.
Well, in that way, it goes the same way, not so much with the fungicides, but with your weed control. I seen a show years ago, and they said it's really hard for a weed to get immune to a chemical if it's dead.
Yes.
Immune's not the right words I'm looking for here, but, if you kill her deader than dead, it's done. I mean, but if you sicken a kochia plant up, and that's what happened for years, we've half rated all these chemicals, and these kochias have gotten, the ability to live through it. Well, now you've just made glyphosate resistant kochia. And that's a whole other conversation we could have massively someday is chemical control. But boy, some of the weeds, especially in my area, these drought years, holy hard to kill certain crops with chemical. I mean, you have to resurrect a 60-foot-old cultivator if I'm going to kill kochia in the burn off. So that's going to suck.
Yeah, we're lucky we're not in a huge kochia. There's some kochia, but it's the saline areas or whatever. And I'm trying to convert all my really bad saline areas where there's kochia to just a hayland and just keep mowing it down.
Have
Whatever.
you ever
We don't have
doing
a whole lot.
Sorry, continue on.
No, but we don't have a whole lot of. We have kochia, but nothing like some other areas.
Have you ever looked into doing deep ripping in your saline areas?
I have not, but we have neighbors. I have a neighbor who just bought one last fall, so I'm curious to see how it works out.
We've been looking into it as well. We've been pricing out the Degelman and the Salford. And the one thing that's scaring us a little bit, it's, one, the cost. And we have a lot of stone in our area. The amount of stone one of them rippers would bring up. Like, maybe there would be enough of a yield increase that it would pay to have a hired guy or a tractor out there picking stone for 2 weeks on a 100-acre chunk. But it's just one of those things where I want to demo one for about 2 days and then wait 2 years and see what my return is. But I don't know, just everybody's talking. Everybody seems to be have the hots for it right now. I just don't know what to think.
Yeah, it seemed like guys were on that about 10 years ago, and then they would say that you would sink away once you did it, right? Like you'd lose your bottom to the field. But I don't know, guys seem to be on it again, and I'm curious to see how it works out.
And even out there, there's even some of these companies that are come up with their potions and lotions with that humic acid and stuff like that that's supposed to devour into them areas. But I mean, I don't know if all that stuff has got a really good registry or history behind it. And they want a lot for that humic acid stuff that you can spray on and supposed to help dissolve the hard pan layer. I don't know how a little mist of stuff could do that or make your alkali go away. I mean, that sounds great with 1 or 2 passes with the sprayer, but I'm still on the fence on, we've tried some and I haven't noticed a difference yet, but in a drought in my area, you don't learn a lot in a drought. You learn that everything you've done needed water.
Yes, and that's the problem. Like I do a lot of trials. That's why I kind of started doing TikToks, is because I wanted to show my trials and get other farmers' discussion on them and what's going on and what they're experiencing. And that's the problem with doing trials, is a lot of times your limiting factor is water. And no matter what you do, there's nothing that's going to change that.
Well, I seen your video there where you were testing the depth of your big slough. Is there any irrigation up in that part of the world, or there's no need for any irrigation? I always think, man, if I had a slough that could hold water year round, I would pump that baby out into the fields.
I've thought a lot of the same thing. Like, yes, there's no irrigation area. No, not even. But like something like that, I've often wondered if it would be worth the capital investment to even just get a diesel pump and one of them reels or whatever with a sprinkler head on it or whatever, and see if that would be worth the effort or whatever. But no, there's no irrigation.
If you had a pivot up there and all of a sudden you're in a whole new area where they might want to grow seed potatoes or something like that, because I mean that's a major business, is growing seed potatoes in a new area. That's where all the pivot up at Lucky Lake are coming up, and it's a lot of potatoes going on there.
You have a lot of clay in your soil?
We got a clay loam soil or whatever, so it's not it's not like a heavy clay like around Regina and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Like I hear what other people need for horsepower to pull their drills, and like, well, we're getting away with half that or whatever compared to what some people need.
Yeah, just because I've often wondered about doing a pivot, so I just talking to Dad about random stuff, and I mentioned that, and he says the idea is good enough, but they tried that in our area in the 70s, and just with the constant moisture in our area, it packs the soil so hard that nothing can grow. It's like almost being like a drought with too much water in a way.
And speaking of horsepower, you got some pretty cool tractors there, Ken. I've seen some of your videos with your big claws tractors, and I've only ever sat in them at Ag in Motion, but I'd love to hear your take on some of them and what you got, if you don't mind sharing it with the world, on what you're running for big tractors there, because there's none of them clauses in this area, and they look cool.
Well, they're a good tractor. I love the transmission in them. Like I started out with the claws in 2018. I bought a claws tractor in 2017. And it was 4,500, and it pulled our drill great. We had a 60-foot seed hawk drill, and it pulled it fantastic. And then I got this 68-foot and 21, so I figured, wow, I was worried about pulling it with the mid-row banders and stuff on it. And so I upgraded to a 5,000, and we kept our old drill, and that was 535 horsepower, and that pulled our 68-foot fantastic. And I figured, and I had an opportunity for another drill can't come up. It was a 76-foot Borgo. And I thought, it pulls our 68-foot real easy. It should be able to pull up to 78 like nothing. So, but it really it really struggled with the 76-foot. So I upgraded this year to a new 12.650, I think it is, or whatever, which now with the prices. But yeah, so I'm just glad that that I'll have enough hydraulic flow and enough horsepower. I hope that's, because we've always either struggled on one of the two. Like I buy a drill and it'll work. It works where you have to do 3 headlands and slow down. But I'm just looking forward to this.
How many liters is that engine on that tractor?
That's a good question. I don't even know. I don't know much about it yet. I got to drive it for one day or a day and a half with some pro-tilling last fall. So
that's not the one you plow snow with? That's a different one?
No, it's not. So I traded my 5,000, the newer one, in on this new tractor, and then I plow snow with our old 4,500, which is 450 horsepower.
Okay. And do you have a waiting list of people that want to buy that tractor? Because if not, put my name on down there. Just when you want to get rid of it, it just, with the blade and everything, it just looks super cool. And
it is.
And grain cart, it would be awesome.
It would be. It is a fantastic cart for just about everything, or tractor for just about everything except pulling the air drill. It's really low. It's got 70 gallons per minute, which is enough, but it's borderline.
Yeah, it would these new drills between the constant pressure of the shanks and multiple fans, and ours has wing downward pressure. They just devour the oil, and I think it takes a lot of horsepower to make that much oil. Yeah, you might be making 500 horsepower, but you might take 60 or 70 of them horsepower just turning all that hydraulics.
I know, and I wish they would do some engineering too. And I know I'm sure they could engineer that to use less hydraulic power. It's just easy. Hydraulic power is easy.
Yeah.
Right.
I know I had a drill. We were talking to Horst Anderson there at the show, Tyler and I were in, and I was like, why don't you guys, I know they're in development of making an air drill and tank.
Okay.
I mean, the rumor's been out there. They had tanks in the past. And I said, make a tank that has like a C9 cat on it or something like that. So your tank could run your fans. It could have like E-axles or drive axles. So it could, maybe say the tank could power 50 or 60% of itself. Run the fan, run all the meters. So then your drill, your tractor could just be pulled by, your tractor could pull the drill and just run the openers and not have to make all that hydraulics all the way to the back. So you could probably still run your drill with a 60, 70 gallon a minute tractor or less. You could go out there with the old Big Bud, or in my case, the old 9280 could hook on and pull them drills. Because if the cart is carrying itself with its own motor, running the fans, running the meters, that'd be a game changer. And if you got her stuck in a slough, you put the cart in reverse and you pull yourself out with the cart.
Well, there's a lot of old Bordeaux, I'm sure, in the bush with them old diesel motors on them that they'd probably buy for cheap.
Yeah, I'd love to have the ability, especially in my hills, for that cart to push itself up and down the hill. Because it takes, you got the tractor up and over the hill, you got the toolbar up and over the hill, and the just about dies and you start to pull these big 1,000 bushel carts up and over them hills. It takes a lot of power to pull that dead weight.
Yeah, it does. Whatever. And that's where we're lucky. We don't have hills like you do. Not by any means.
No,
like
I'm so
we got
blessed.
maybe 50 feet in elevation change over the farm. Or maybe 100 feet, yes. So.
Yeah, no, I have 100 feet of elevation in 100 feet. Sometimes it feels like it's just how this topography, how the water left here and left a lot of gravel and rocks behind. But, I could flatten all them hills out. I make a lot more acres going up and down all them hills.
Yeah, we're in the area of like 160 acre quarters. You probably get 170 out of a quarter.
Yeah. So you have a lot of your fields you can do corner to corner, nice square.
For the most part, yeah. We have a lot of like creeks running through them or whatever, dividing a quarter or whatever. But we have potholes that can all be drained with V-ditch for the most part. Ever so, usually by mid-May, we can run through just about everything, or a lot of the stuff.
So do you do any ditching?
That's a loaded question. Our area. Not a lot of ditching, no. We're not out there with the track or anything ditching, but we do V-ditch or whatever, and we can drain most of everything with a V-ditch.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. Well, I know
because we are in the Quill Lake water basin for some of it, and that's definitely, you get shot if you ditched in that area.
Oh, okay.
Where Lake Lenore, it's a little bit more lenient, but it's still a no, but not near as much.
And, we ask all farmers, what's one of your favorite tractor snacks?
Tractor stats? I'm not sure. I'm not a huge tractor guy. My first tractor was an 8650, and we still have that tractor. That's still my favorite tractor. I always recommend somebody never to sell your first truck or your first vehicle, never sell your first tractor. So that tractor will hopefully stay forever.
Well, that's, they get so dear and near to your heart sometimes. I mean, I still often think about, I should go find the picture. I know we have some pictures. We had an 835 Versatile, and that's, we had that when I was 19 or 20. And I spent a lot of time. That was the first real good big four-wheel drive that we had. And that was, basically like now I'd be sitting in like a telephone booth in that old cab. But boy, at that time, that 835, that big cam Cummins, and oh yeah, just love that old tractor. It had no hydraulics, and there was not a chance in hell in 03 it was going to pull a seed hawk drill with the shanks and the dual fans.
Yeah.
Them had the drag augers on that first drill. So it went down the road, but yeah, still often think about it.
Yeah, no, that 8650 we have it's a great tractor. It pulled seeded a lot of acres for us up until 2009 or whatever we used it as our main tractor.
So what do you do with that old girl now still?
That's pulling out, like somebody gets stuck, it's what goes out or whatever. So it's kind of not much.
Yeah. It's retired, but it's still useful because if something gets stuck, then all of a sudden, if you don't have that extra four-wheel drive, then you're phoning up Billy Bob, the neighbor, saying, hey, I know you're busy, but I'm stuck. Can you come save me? And the neighbor would, but yeah, sometimes you just want that extra bullet in the back of the Quonset too is nice to have.
Yeah, no, it's not worth much, so why sell it, right?
No, exactly.
I like to collect stuff.
Yeah. But I have to give a little shameless plug here. We were lucky enough to have Cowboys Caviar kind of come on as a sponsor for a few episodes of the old Bunny Hug Farmers podcast. And they're right out of Moose Jaw. They make, if you haven't had any of their products, some of the best damn beef jerky in the whole damn, in my mind, the world. It is so nice. It's wonderful. I know, Tyler, you haven't got your care package in the mail yet, but it's on its way, if there's any left here.
You're just going to send me your empties, are you?
Well, I know whenever we spend a lot of time in the winter on the road, or whatever, with hockey and stuff with the kids, and every gas station stop, it's always got to buy some Cowboy Caviar.
Yeah. Oh, I was pretty happy when they just, send us out some product to try. And, and that's, for us in this podcast, just starting out to have a nice local Saskatchewan business wanting to help us out, and we can help them out by promoting their product. But it's pretty easy to promote a product that's that damn good, that speaks for itself. They don't need the advertising. I'm just thanking them for it. But yeah, it's nice.
So what is your favorite snack in the field?
I'm addicted to sugar, so I like mints. I can't buy them because I'll eat the whole bag. Whatever. Just the Scotch mint or whatever is my favorite.
Well, that's like me with a bag of beef jerky again. Cowboys Caviar. It's hard. You open a bag and I'm going to have one piece you stop by a gas station and you buy a bag. Well, I'm going to have a piece or two and then share the rest with the family when I get home. And then you get home and you're trying to sneak the empty into the house and throw it in the trash because you ate the whole damn thing and you feel like a pig.
No, you just open that bag up and the smell, that delicious smell just engulfs the cab. It's hard not to.
Yeah.
It is.
Especially when it's a bag of Cowboy Caviar.
So now we just need to get that pretzel sponsorship we've been after. So what's on the old watch list for the auction sales this spring? Anything you're looking for? Because this episode won't be out for a little while, so you have time to divulge all what you're looking for.
Well, usually it changes with the season, but I'm pretty set up for seeding. I wouldn't mind a bigger air cart, but that's a little bit lower on the list, I guess. Possibly a bigger grain cart. Would be nice to have one that fills up the semi. Whatever, we got a brand 1020 right now, but honestly it's sufficient. I'm pretty well set up for equipment that I'm not looking for anything really new in the next year or two, I hope.
There was a couple Borgo air drills that sold not too far away from me here in Burden, and they went fairly cheap, but I heard there was no sectional control on them and the tanks were a tow-between setup.
Yeah, that was a weird setup. Like they sold the sectional control with the drills, and the tanks had no sectional control. But I know there was one guy by Quill Lake who bought a pair. So, and he was, I'm pretty sure, I heard through a friend that he was fairly happy with the deal he got.
Is that just because the tank is a tow-between versus what most Borgos are is a tow-behind? That the sectional control has got to go on the drill? Like, I don't have sectional control on my drills because we run 5810 Borgos, so I'm not very familiar with sectional control on an air drill.
The sectional control on a Borgo looks so convoluted, and I was pretty, like, I came from I guess we always had a Borgo, but it just looks like way more complicated than it should be, but honestly, it works. I've never had a problem with it. Never. Not a problem that wasn't self-inflicted, I guess.
Because they have doors that open and doors that close and direct airstream around things, and it looks like 17 octopuses having an orgy from the looks of it. But it must work.
It does, and it works. It works great or whatever. It's been flawless for me. Whatever, and we've been, I guess, 8-9 years now with the Borgo sectional control.
How are you putting your fertilizer down, and what type of fertilizer are you using?
We use S15 and MESZ for our phosphates, so I'll put probably about 160 pounds of that down the sideband, and I have an extra phosphate in with that blend, so I'm getting about 40 to 55 pounds of phosphate down, about 20 pounds of sulfur down, or whatever, and then about 8-9 pounds of potash down in the sideband. And then I'll put another 10 pounds of actual down with the seed row.
You're all granular? Yeah,
and then we use anhydrous for our nitrogen, and that goes down to windrow banders.
Okay, so all in one pass.
Yeah, all in one pass. I used to do 2 passes, like I used to go in the fall with anhydrous, but now it seems like so many people are putting it on in the fall that usually I have a driver to myself in the spring, so it's never been a problem keeping up with juice.
And there isn't any anhydrous in this area for hundreds of miles. I don't know which direction I have to go to find some. I think maybe closer to Weyburn out there. There might be some little past Weyburn, but yeah, there's just not out here. Our sandier soils wouldn't absorb it, I was told, so it's never been a thing out here.
Yeah, well, here I bet you it's 2/3 to 80% of it gets put on by anhydrous. There's a few liquid guys, there's a few dry guys, but most of it's NH3. We just have a fantastic retailer in our area. Well, I got a few, I guess, and everybody sells anhydrous. And yeah, we're pretty blessed, I guess, in that way. Although it is dangerous, and I don't know. I'm fine with it, but sometimes my kids come on the drill with me. I'm like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. A lot can go wrong in a hurry with that anhydrous.
Yeah, like South Sask farmer who we had on your earlier podcast, his dad was really injured by that. And I was hoping you'd talk about that some more, about what happened and stuff. But yeah.
Well, I think we're going to have a Where Are They Now episode coming up here someday with Nick and Travis or whatever. So we'll bring that one back up. Where are they now? Well, because we've had a boatload of fun doing this. Like it's just been, like I said, right from talking with you, to Kale, to Matt, it's just been so honored to talk to, such distinguished farmers, in their own rights. Everybody has such a cool story of how the farm got there and where they're at and where they're going is just, and that's always been just, it's been mind blowing for me as one of the co-hosts here to try to learn all this. And I'm just hoping that people can sit back, relax, and enjoy listening to what Tyler and I are trying to do here.
Well, that's a fantastic podcast, whatever. But yeah, like every area is different. Like our area, it's probably smaller farms than average or whatever. But our area, there's lots of young farmers in our area. Lots of farmers between 40 and 60, which still seems to be young. Yeah, we're pretty blessed with, like, the average size in our area, I bet you is 3,000 acres or whatever, right? Where a lot of areas, it's probably 5 to 10,000 acres.
Yeah. And then, in my area here, we have to grind. I think we just make less dollars per acre. So in order at the end of the day to justify what we have to just grind through more acres. I mean, that's just how that's going to work,
Yeah.
I wish I could make $200 an acre profit, but sometimes I was chatting with Tanner Malang earlier today, and I said my end goal at the end of the year here coming up with everything going on and how dry we are going into this season, I hope I can pay all the bills, make all the payments, and just come out of it not going backwards is my goal. And hopefully not be in a crop insurance claim because, I'm getting tired of that.
No, nobody. It's no fun being in crop insurance. Like, yeah, we had some really tough years between 06 and 12 where it was so wet we never got half our crop seeded for a few years, and what was seeded shouldn't have been, or whatever. And collecting crop insurance it's really awful. Having to ask your landlord, can you hold off on taking rent for a few months or whatever until I get the money? It's awful. It really is.
And that's something where you need good landlords that are willing to know it's going to come. It's just not going to be when the contract says it's going to be there. I could write you a check, but you can't cash it for 3 months.
Yeah, whatever. But for most part, all the landlords there's not a lot of big investments landlords or whatever. It's usually all local family or like retired farmers or whatever. So we got fairly good landlords in our area.
I think
They understand it
Yeah.
better than a land investor would. A land
But I
investor,
hope it
he's
never
just
comes
after
to
the
that.
dollar.
Yeah, dollars per acre. And that's what I think happened out in this area. That's why we have so many investments. This is a poor area. I mean, you can make a living. Obviously, we're proven you can do it, but you can make a living here. But our land was cheap to buy, dollars per acre. So when these investments come in here, they're like, wow, we can buy a lot of dirt very cheaply. And then we caught, when it was too wet for you between 06 and 12, then we were the other way. We finally caught some nice rains and grew some good crops. So these investors bought a lot of dirt, and then we started producing 50, 60 bushel, acre average crops out here for quite a few years in a row. So these investments people look like geniuses, and now they might be the death of some farms that people have locked into these big contracts, that big rentals on pretty poor dirt.
Yeah, it's tough. It's so tough to figure out a proper value for land rent and what to purchase some quarter land. Like at a university, I got a degree in economics, so I'll calculate like what I can afford and what the land is worth and to pay off and everything else. And like my first quarter land I bought in 02, I think I paid $102,000. Am I going to pay $100,000 or $102,000? Like that extra $2,000 might break me, right? But then I've lost quite a bit of land you bid on when you do those calculations. And really, it's, well, what is my neighbor going to pay? And I'll pay $1 more, right? And so the calculations have gone out the window for the most part. Because you do the calculations, you never buy a quarter land in our area.
Oh yeah,
right? Like you have to use your other land to subsidize the land you bought.
Yeah, and then we're the same boat down here. Land, yeah, it's not gonna pay for itself very quickly right now. But again, if you can see it from the house, or within, for my situation, 5-10 miles of the house, boy, that's like farming like right across the driveway here. I mean, that's close compared to how spread we are in a lot of our stuff. So it gains more value to people that it's closer to or it touches, in my mind.
Absolutely. Like our farthest land away is 6 miles. And I'm like, maybe I should sell that farm land and get something closer because it sucks driving that far. But then you hear other guys that go 60, 70 miles for land. I'm like, I can't imagine.
No, I know.
Yeah, no, we're the same way on our farm here. Everything's in one big block. Farthest land's within 7 miles by road from the buildings.
Yeah, that's my close stuff. But there is some the big farmer here. He's got hayland north of me and farmland. I think they're close to 100 miles from one end of the farm to the other end of the farm. But it's basically two separate farms, and the drills and combines go back and forth. But they're a long ways apart. They make it work, and they are a tremendous group of farmers there.
Yeah, there's, well, I don't know about your area, but there's no bad farmers left. Like in the 80s, 90s, there used to be like the alcoholic farmer, right? And there's nobody like that left in our area for sure, or whatever. Like it's a big business, and there's no room for mistakes, whatever anymore. Those guys are long gone.
Not if you plan on upgrading. I mean, if you're going to farm with the old same 4430 your dad bought new in 74, and that's still your big tractor, because there's some stuff out in this area that's still like that. I can say there is some of them little guys. A lot of them guys caught in the organic market, and I'm sure I'm going to piss people off when they listen to this, but they did really good on the organic market now. But now organic is not that strong, and some of these guys are really going to suffer. But you're running an old paid for tractor, an old paid for Massey diskers on old paid for dirt. You don't need a lot of income to make a living on that. But if you're in my situation where you're trying to run more newer, more modern machinery, and you've bought a lot of dirt and you're renting a lot of dirt, I need to grind through a lot of acres to keep what I have. I mean, that's not so much
Yeah.
I say I, but in my mind when I say I meant we or our, because my mom and dad are 100% a major part of this operation, and along with my wife and my brother. When he's down, he lends every hand he can when he comes down. So, I guess I can say on our farm. I meant to correct myself in the past on that, but it's on our farm. It's not my tractor. I mean, it is my tractor. It feels like it's my tractor. I've put a lot of hours on it, but it's our tractor. It's dad
And
and
that's the
I's.
same with our farm. Like my dad still farms. He's still involved in the farm. He's not there. He's not there 100% of the time. But if I have a big decision, I'm going to ask him his opinion. Like he's got a lot of knowledge there, and it really bugs me when people say like, "Oh, they're old. Their opinion doesn't matter anymore," right? Like you hear the salesman say, "Well, he has to go ask his dad." Well, of course I'm going to ask my father. He's been farming for 50 years.
He carried the torch for the first 40 years before you took it over. I mean, that's major, and not just for the knowledge. It's the respect issue too. I mean,
Yes.
you don't want to be disrespected when you get older and your sons take over or whatever. You don't want to be disrespected like that. Like you got the farm, kind of like Yellowstone here in a way. You carried the ranch for this many years, and you've taken care of it, and so your input is needed and expected.
Yeah. And I'm glad to have my dad there, especially with the kids and involved in so many sports. It seems like he's doing more work at the farm than me some days.
My dad is a serious hard worker. I mean, and as long as his health holds out, because he's not a big traveler or a big visitor or going out guy. I mean, his hobby is work and cows, and as long as his health holds out, and I hope it does, because I mean, boy, when Mom was sick there a couple of years ago, and they were gone for 3 months. When Mom was in the hospital there, it was really different around here for sure.
Yeah, that'd be a big hole to fill not having.
Yeah, and my dad does the work. I often joke with the hired man. I said, you don't got to keep up with me, but you got to keep up with Wilfred. Deep down, I know I can't keep up with my dad, Wilfred. I mean, if you're going to keep up with him, good luck. Because up until the last couple of years, 2-3 years, he was 18-hour-a-day worker. Just unreal amount of hours that he could work and put in and do, and the knowledge and experience. And one thing about being that active at that age is staying so mentally sharp is impressive. You talk to other guys of his age and they are not there, but they haven't kept their mind as busy as what my dad has.
Yeah, like my grandfather too. He farmed until he was in his 80s, and once we had to force him to quit, but that hurt him more than anything.
Yeah, my grandpa was the same way. He farmed up until his mid 80s. We had to force, well, we didn't force him. His mind went. He got dementia real bad, and he just couldn't do it anymore. But you could ask him about something. Oh, what happened here? Oh, well, so-and-so went over to help this person combine, and he backed into so-and-so's truck, and so-and-so punched so-and-so, and that's how this all happened. Their kids married each other, and it's...
Yeah, and I can't remember what I put the canola in 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. So is your dad out at the farm, or is he commute from town?
He's out at the farm, so and he goes away for the winter, but he's out there. He just got back, and he's out there now or whatever, so there's a truck that comes late at 8 o'clock in the evening or whatever. He'll load it, whatever for me. But
and then AAA farmers, April to August, and then Arizona?
That's exactly. He goes to Victoria, but yeah, that's exactly right. Whatever. But I'm also at the point where I'm going to have to get a hired man in the next year or two, I think. Like, we farm 3,600 acres, so it's kind of, it's enough for 1 3/4 people, I guess.
Well, that keeps the guy busy. And especially when you're growing 3,600 acres, some people go, well, that's not a lot of acres. That's a lot of acres. That's a lot of grain when you're pulling off 100+ bushel crop. I mean,
Yeah. And now that I said that, I'll probably never get a bushel crop again. But yeah, our yields have gone. We've been blessed in the last 5 years, so I shouldn't think that's normal, I guess.
Yeah. The next goal is 200.
Yeah, we came close this year in oats, and I tell you, that was fun to harvest. Like I understand why the guys like doing corn.
Well, and that's a big thing. Is I am going to get into the States this fall or some fall, and I want to combine that 200 bushel corn that's like 12 or 13 feet tall, and you're going through it and you don't see nothing, and you just watch the corn plant just disappear into the corn head in front of you. I made that video last fall, and I wasn't able to go, but I had a lot of great offers of come down here, combine corn. I was pretty honored by the amount of people that were willing to, throw me in a combine seat and let me go combine some corn. I got offers to go combine cotton. I thought that'd be really cool. Again, I might not farm into my 80s, but maybe I will be farming into my 80s, but I might be running somebody else's combine doing corn or cotton or picking beans or peanuts or something.
Well, I
That'd be
would
cool.
like to switch farms. Like if you could just go to Australia for a year. Like I went custom combining in Australia for a year. If I had the guts, I'd move my farm to Australia or whatever. It sure would be nice to farm there for a year and see what it's like.
Oh, you went custom combining in Australia when you were a youngster?
Yeah, between college and university, I was after university. Between college and university, I went to the States and did a harvest run, and then after university was done, I went to Australia and did a harvest run.
Well, that's cool. I also did a trip to Texas and back in 96.
Okay, I went in 98.
Okay,
and
yep.
I loved it. I would recommend it to anybody in the world. Just great people all the way.
I say the same thing. I think every farm teenage boy, early 20s that plans on farming full time, you got to do that run once. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're 20, 21 years old, preferably bar age, because that's part of the run too. Find a crew. There's some good ones out there. Do the run. You'll see the world. You'll see all sorts of different crops. And we just did basically all winter wheat till basically into North Dakota. But it was so neat. And you met such cool people down there. And you really realize how small the world is. Because we were at a little tiny restaurant there in Kansas. And one of the guys on our crew, and big friendly feller, and just talking to a farmer there, and you got all them Americans. They're like, oh, I know somebody from Canada. They're from Toronto, and well, that, we're closer to my house than we are Toronto, sort of thing. And this guy says, well, I know a guy from Moose Jaw. And my buddy's like, well, I'm from Moose Jaw. His name is such and such and such and such. And my buddy's eyes got about 2.5 inches big, just about tipped over. That's my dad. Well, he met him at the Shriners Conference, and his dad was a Shriner, and this guy was a Shriner. And every year throughout North America, they meet at these Shriners Conferences and have a couple of drinks, and we're in a 500 square foot little bug tussle restaurant in Kansas, and this guy's talking to a guy that's buddies with his dad, just randomly walks into him. So that just shows how small this world is. But if you had a chance as a youngster and you don't know what you want to do sometime, do the custom combining run. You get to run some cool ass big machinery. You get to see the world, see these elevators like Hutchinson, Kansas. Like the elevators in Hutchinson they're a mile long. They never end.
It's amazing.
The next one starts.
And then they're so old, fold the mirrors in down near to get the semi in, whatever. But it was so enjoyable. I loved it. I would definitely go back.
And then a horse and buggy right in the lineup there with its 40 bushels of wheat in the wagon. They were the next to the dump. It was such an amazing thing to do, and then you get your wet days, and you end up spending some days in the pool or days at the bar. Or we cruised into Denver, Colorado, which was super cool, and got to see to come from a population of my little town here of 60, the drive into Denver, which has 6 lanes of highway, going each direction as you're going into some parts of Denver, is just beyond mind-blowing. So, and at the same time, you're working, you're being paid for, your truck payments are being made. It's just sitting at home, not making any miles. You're driving the boss's truck. Do that run. If you have the chance, if you're thinking about it, do it. Find a crew, go have some fun.
Being one of the young guys in the group here, that's something I never did, and I regret not doing it. It was something I always wanted to do, but there was always just so much going on here at home. I should have just taken the plunge and went and done it. And I can speak for Dallas and Ken here. Go do it, because don't turn out like me. Or you can turn out like me, but don't do what I did.
Yeah.
I just stayed home at the farm, and I didn't go experience farming from a different angle. Go and do it. Go and experience
I love going to Australia, but just like having to quit because of the heat is something that was new to me. Whatever. Like you'd get these 35, 36 degree days, and you shut down, go to the bar, and start back up at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night when it cools down.
I would be able to walk. So what did you run for combines and for crops over there when you're there, if I don't mind going into some details on that?
When I was in Australia, we ran, I think it was 2388s. It was just when the 8120s came out, because there was a few in the area, but we ran 2388s or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And I ran 50 combine, 50% trucking, whatever. And it was beautiful. We started off in the border of Queensland and New South Wales, and when we were combined up there, I got up there, they were just about done the harvest up there. Get up there, and then we were done. And then
or
yeah, it was all wheat. Oh. And then when we got done, and it's where are the trucks? Where are the semis? No, we drive the combines. So we drove the combines for a week to Pinaroo, Australia, and that's in Victoria. It was like going across Western Canada in a combine or whatever. That was awful. Driving across these tiny highways with 50 cars behind you trying to get around. Yeah, that was stressful. But other than that, it was awesome combining down there. And then we got to Pinaroo, and that was all irrigation down there. And then we went to Cressy, Australia, and that was very similar to our area. They grew canola, oats, and similar crops to us.
What was the yield difference in Australia compared to here at home?
It was a good year when I was there, so I think Cressy was about the same as us, or whatever, maybe even a little bit more. And New South Wales, I think, was significantly less. And Pinaroo would have been a bit less too. Like they're getting 20 bushel an acre wheat crops.
That's like me. 96, we went to Texas, and that was a drought down there. Their crop was, some of that stuff was in the teens. And then the more we went north into, Kansas, and then up into Denver, and then we skipped right from Colorado right to South Dakota. And actually, we roaded 4 combines from Denver to Seymour, South Dakota. And then a couple of guys did road the other 2 combines right from South Dakota all the way to Melville, I think. So we wore out some combine tires that year too.
Just such great people. Like you read on social media, like the American farmer, and a little bit more rednecky, and even Australia. But you meet them in person, and they're nothing like what you hear about or what you see on social media even and stuff, right? Like it's just different when you see someone in person, right?
Yeah. And some of that red dirt, is that true? I've seen videos of them seed, and that dirt looks like it's like tomato red.
Yeah, it's definitely not soil like ours, that's for sure. It's definitely a reddish brown or whatever where I was in Australia.
Is there as many snakes and spiders as everybody cries about that are in Australia? Or?
I never saw any snakes. Saw lots of kangaroos. Like,
okay.
We smacked a couple with the Sammy driving at night or whatever on the way home.
That's why it's 100% Bambi bashers in front of them Kenworths you always see in their videos.
And they're solid. They're not like a deer where they bump off. They're like pure muscle and things. There's a lot of mass to them.
Yeah, I thought, I was just thinking it's kind of like a white-tailed deer, that 100 and some pounds, but yeah.
No, they're pretty solid. But the only place I saw a snake actually was rattlesnake was in the States or whatever. We were greasing as underneath the semi and greasing it, and also you hear that rattle. Like, boy, get out of there.
Yeah.
And then the farmer came and just whacked it with a shovel and scooped it away.
That's what we were told. You check the oil in the combine in the morning, fire it up, move it 20 feet from where it was sitting, because they'll want to be sitting underneath that combine, I guess, overnight. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Don't know why the snakes would go to that. And then you're servicing away from where your combine was sitting, and that was more South Dakota, I think. But in Texas, some too. Boy, my memory's failing me now. That's been a lot of years ago, coming on almost 30 years since I did that.
Yeah. In my mind, it doesn't seem that long ago. And then he's like, oh, Jesus, I've been out of university for 25 years already.
Yeah. And you have a degree, you said, in economics?
Yeah, I went to Vermilion first and got a diploma in crop technology. And then I figured, well, I'd get a job. Yeah. All the good-looking women got jobs at the chemical companies. I was working construction, whatever. I thought, university is better than work, so I went to university. Actually, right out of high school, I worked at Forgetfulness for a year as a welder. So, and that actually paid off too. Learned how to weld and stuff. I'm really glad I went and did that.
It's a great skill to have in a terrible career.
Exactly. Yeah. I think a good welder is so handy to have. And if I need something big welded, I'll phone somebody to come in. But if it's little, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah. And Dad taught me how to use the stick welder when I was in my teens. And then I did take a 6-week MIG welding course, and then I worked for Brandt and for Rem welding a couple of winters. So I know my way around a MIG for sure. And I'm not bad with a stick. Dad's still better, but I'm not bad with a stick.
Yeah, I don't use a stick too much. I just use MIG for the most part. I know they say you're supposed to use stick for a lot of stuff. I just turn the gas up and
yeah, get the cardboard out and build yourself a little tent out there and get the welding. Yeah. So what do you run for some big trucks there?
We have a cat semi. This is talking about mistakes. That was a mistake. Whatever. I found this cat semi I liked at auction sale and I bought it. And it was tough to get it deleted, and it took the mechanic forever to get it running right after getting it deleted. But it works good now. But it's an orphan. Nobody wants to service it, right? Like Cat doesn't want to service it. It was made by mostly international parts. They don't want to service it. It's one of the things that was a good deal, but probably wasn't.
They only made them for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were kind of orphans, and they were a modified version of either a C13 or a C15, and they put a whole bunch of emission stuff on there that them motors couldn't handle, and then instead of having the Cat electronics, I think they had a lot of Bosch stuff, and they're just I've seen a few guys over the years, and they were cheap to get into, and they're married to them, and they're...
Yeah, that's exactly right. But when it works, and it's been working good for the last 2 years since the mechanic got it working good, but it's a beautiful truck to drive. Like I used to custom truck, I used to work for a guy who custom trucked. It wasn't my own business. And we drove Max, and it's definitely a much nicer truck to drive than the Max.
Wait, you just got the one Cat truck there?
Yeah, and we actually have an older Sterling truck, and that thing has been bulletproof. I've had that. It's an 07. I bought it in 09 or 10, and I put maybe a couple 100,000 kilometers on it, and it's been not a lick of trouble there. It's fantastic semi.
The Sterling would have a Detroit in there?
No, it's got a Mercedes in it.
Oh, okay.
Those are good engines, actually. We have a Freightliner with a Mercedes in it.
We have Mercedes in just about everything. Like all our tractors now have Mercedes in them. This is the new one. I'm not sure what the new one has, actually, to tell you the truth. But our Combine has a Mercedes, but supposedly they're expensive once you have to get into them. But
yeah, they are. We lost a turbo in that semi one day, and it took the air to air with it, and we were close to 10 grand by the time we were out of the shop with it. And of course, it happened right at harvest time. So
yeah, and everything's 10 grand now is cheap for anything. Like
and that it's a pre-emission truck. There's no emissions on that truck, so
okay,
that was a pretty hefty bill for. Well, that was even pre-COVID when that one happened.
I got lucky at one of them pre-emissions, and actually that just got today. I lost a motor in a truck over a year. Basically a year ago today, we lost a motor in it.
Okay.
And I just talked to the guy today. It's done, and it's kind of a little more performance on that motor, and we're heading into seeding, so it's just going to putz around the farm. It's not going to get broken right, I didn't think. So he recommended we took it to the dyno in Lethbridge, so they ran it to Lethbridge, and they put her on the dyno. And the guy that built the motor, like I said, that computer's got a pretty performance tune in there, and she made 588 horsepower to the wheels. That's like 600 the flywheel, so that old girl's generating some serious steam now. That's on that red W900 we have.
Well, horsepower's nice, that's for sure. Not having to shift is going up the slightest hill. That sure makes life a lot easier.
But you got a big powerful one there, Tyler, don't you?
Yeah, we have a 2016 Freightliner. It's got a DD16 in it, and it's supposed to be rated at 600 horse. I've never had it on a dyno to prove that or not, but it pulls fairly well for what it is, I guess. It has full emissions on it and everything. I don't know if we'll ever delete it. We've heard rumors coming down the pipe that if a highway tractor is deleted, it will not pass a safety anymore. Now, I don't know if that's now or now, but it will definitely be here in the future, I'd have to believe.
Oh, that would be yeah.
That emission deleting highway tractors is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry in North America. And that was part of the reason with this old 01 truck, like we just put, 50 some grand into an 01 truck, but that's a first generation ISX pre-emissions, no EGR, no fart can, no def, no nothing. And just to so it wasn't born with it. It'll never have to have it. So that's part of the reason we decided we're going to stick some serious coin. I mean, we put way more money into rebuilding the motor in that truck than we paid for that truck, but that's just how the world works. But that ever comes down, you had to have emissions on it. That old girl will be running around just fine because it was never had it. So it'll never have to have it, I hope.
Well, you're paying for the reliability.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend with a construction company, and he had newer Max, and he went back to old Max trucks. He said he just couldn't keep them on the road. He can't afford to have a truck go down for emissions.
That's like these old Cummonses, like, our mechanical 855 big cam there. And hired man and I were working that truck today with the 9280. That's what it has. I said, that old girl is, you plug it in when it's cold, it fires right up. And the same with the newer N14s, very similar block. I think they're just a better built motor yet on the N14s, but those are really nice, reliable trucks, motors and trucks.
We got one in one of our Freightliners. It's got an N14 in it, red top, Select Plus, and you just turn the key, and on the colder days you have it plugged in, obviously. Turn the key, hit the start button, it spins over about 3 times and it fires, and then it don't quit until you turn that key off. And it pulls hard. Like that N14, it's got almost 1 million clicks on it. It's had a bearing roll in it and a couple injectors, but as far as an in-frame, to our knowledge, it's never had one. And it pulls relatively just as hard as that DD16 with 600 horse that's plugged up with emissions.
Yeah, the emissions, they take a lot of horsepower away from the truck.
Do you ever see them videos where guys are pulling intakes off and when the EGR is screwed up and like they are black and smogged up and you're choking them motors down and you're just feeding its own, in a layman's term, you're feeding its own shit back into it. It's just, you're just tearing that motor apart from the inside by making it use all that old exhaust gas. I mean, if it's blowing black out the tailpipe, it's putting black into the cylinders.
It just makes me cringe on what that's doing to your valve train. All that stress, all that extra heat going back into that motor.
Well, actually, they say it's colder inside the motor with the EGRs because it's already been burnt. There's no oxygen to burn, so it actually lowers your intake temperatures. But you just all that soot. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't like it.
I honestly wish, like, instead of, like, what does a emission system cost for a truck? Like $30,000-$40,000. Like, let me go plant $30,000-$40,000 worth of trees instead, right?
Yes.
And rip that stuff off. Like, whatever your politics, like, just let me not put this. Reliability is worth so much.
Yes.
And yeah.
And they can, with the injection on these trucks, they can get better mileage with, and you pull all that garbage off your new pickups and stuff, and you gain 4, 5, 6, 10 miles to the gallon by getting rid of all that garbage. So, I mean, how are we saving the world? We're burning more fuel, probably 30 grand worth of garbage you put on there.
Yeah.
And then we're going to spend 10 grand removing it. Well, that's 40 grand wasted to make it back to, a decent, reliable engine.
Well, what really bugs me is they say that this emission's supposed to be more environmentally friendly. Well, what about all the waste that goes into engineering all that stuff? And then all the waste that goes into producing the DEF fluid we got to put in. And then everything else, like a lot of these hot guys that are running on the highway, they buy a plastic jug that's in a cardboard box. How many card locks have you stopped in and you see about 5 of them stuffed into a trash can? You can't tell me that's any good. That's going straight to the landfill.
Yeah, it makes me shake my head sometimes. Like the intention may be good, which some people might argue, I guess, but the execution really needs work.
Yes, yeah. And that's the reason they put that warranty on. And I'm sure dealerships hate having to do a 7-year DEF warranty because nothing is designed. And maybe it might run for 7 years perfect on the flat showroom floor, but it is not going to work for 7 years on the highway or in the hills or in the dust and the dirt. And, not every jug of DEF is going to be whistle perfectly clean and not have dust or dirt and contaminants in it. And all of a sudden you got downtime and you got trucks dead on the side of the road, where all of a sudden the guy with the old, N14, he just smiles and waves as he blows your doors off because he's still running just fine. The old Series 60 Detroits, they were one of the first computerized engines ever made, and they're still probably one of the better computerized engines ever made. I mean, they're no big powerhouse, but they are reliable and good fuel-efficient motors.
Oh, those 60 series, they just ran and ran and ran. They were very commonly used in boats, generators, trucks. I think there's even a few pieces of farm equipment that use them as well.
Well, reliability is so important, and that honestly has me worried about this new farm equipment with all this electronics on it. What's going to happen in 15 years when they quit making the computer for some control module that your tractor won't run on anymore?
Yeah, you get one mouse in the cab, choose through one wire. If, all of a sudden it shorts something out, you need a wiring harness. Well, that wiring harness now made of unobtainium. They can't get it anymore. Your 14-year-old tractor, so they don't have to keep parts for it, is basically scrap because of you're missing a wiring harness. Or you spend a fortune rebuilding a wiring harness that, your old 5.9 Cummins, a zip tie, on the fuel pump, and it'll start.
Well, I was going to ask Tyler how many mice he found in his cab roof changing the radios.
Out of them 4 tractors, I found 1 mouse nest, and it was just a tiny one, no bigger than a pop can.
That's pretty good. You must have cats.
That comes down to putting your equipment away for winter storage, right? Like 90% of our equipment sits inside, and before it goes in the shed, it gets washed up. Cabs get polished right up. I make sure there's no shop rags, no leftover lunch or anything. They get a full vacuum. And then we got poison around our sheds. We put poison in the cabs, and that makes a huge difference. Like I recently had on my TikTok, when I was steadily posting videos, I had a video where I was cleaning the cab on my side-by-side. And I had somebody comment, "Oh, it's a farm rig. It doesn't need to be clean." And I commented back, and I said, "You know what? It's called taking pride in your equipment. Try it sometime." The stereotype, "Oh, it's a farm rig. It doesn't need this. It can be dirty. Oh, it doesn't need to work right." Okay, if you're a hobby farmer, sure. But if you're actually doing this for a living, take pride in your equipment.
Yeah, you want something clean and something comfortable. Like people ask me, like, why do you want new equipment? Well, I don't expect you to drive a 50-year-old car around. Like, why do you expect me to drive a 50-year-old tractor?
Mm-hmm.
And not disparaging anybody who drives an older tractor. Like, you can definitely make it work and keep them new and stuff, but it's definitely a lot more work than I have the time for.
Yeah. Well, then speaking of antique tractors, I mean, Tyler, you are the king of being able to keep some of them tractors going. And I think we're pretty loose to say on this podcast how many hours you have on some of them 94 series case tractors you have. Like, you want to just make the world faint by saying some of these hours? It's not 10, 12, 13, 14,000 hours.
Those are just break-in hours.
Those are the yeah.
That's when it's just due for a bearing roll. No, we have a 2094. Bought it brand new. We've owned it since new. It's never left the farm. It's got over 40,000 hours on it. And a lot of people don't believe me when I tell you that, because they come and look at it and they say, "Oh, there's no way." Pull out the service records, show them, and they're just in awe. They're like, "Well, how do you do that?" Well, every 100 hours religiously. Oil change. Trans oil every second year. Trans filters, or if the light comes on sooner than that. And we've always ran the high tran oil in them CNH tractors. That's the big thing in the transmissions on them tractors. And then one thing that saved that tractor is only for the first 30 years of its life, it was the main tractor on the farm. Like, it fed cows, did the spraying, seeding, cultivating, haying, running baler, everything else. It's kind of semi-retired now, but we have a 2394. It's got close to 30,000 hours on it. And it was also the main tractor at one time. Mainly it's just a haying tractor now, but it's just one of them things. It followed the same service schedule. Every 100 hours, engine oil change, run good case high tran oil. Like, obviously, when you get in the busy season, they'll get over that 100 hours, but that one won't burn a drop of oil. You get to about 108 hours, all of a sudden that oil will start going down and it's starting to get a bit black. Dump that oil, put new filters on, won't burn a drop of oil.
That's a mind-blowing testament to, maintenance is such key to keeping this stuff running. And sometimes I shake my head at what we do here, because we might skip the oil change on a combine almost, and all of a sudden you reel into the shop at the end of the year and it's, "Oh, she's got 400 hours on her." But maybe if you start off with good oil, I mean, then that's key there too, is starting off with good oil. And we haven't switched them all over, but I think eventually I'm going to switch them all over to full, synthetic engine oil and all the diesels around here.
Do you have the transition, Dallas, where half the equipment has the oat antifreeze and the other half has the old red heavy duty?
I think the only thing that runs oat on this farm is that T9700 oat. I think the rest of them are heavy.
Unfortunately, we're half and half here. It's a real pain because we haven't done it, but we've heard of guys doing it. If you end up mixing those two, you basically turn your whole cooling system into jello. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. That's just what I've heard. I'm not going to test it out.
I just buy a Deer Guard, a barrel of antifreeze from Deer or whatever, a Cool Guard 3 or 2 or whatever it is. And I've kind of switched everything over to that. I hope it's compatible with everything, because it goes in everything.
You're going to find out.
Whatever. But like that new tractor, it's got 1,000-hour oil change interval on it, which to me that seems bonkers, but I guess they know what they're doing. I suspect I'll still keep doing yearly oil changes, because we put about 200 hours, 250 hours on a piece of equipment a year, it seems. So that works out good for oil change intervals.
Yeah, 1,000 hours. That's unreal.
It is. It'd be 4 years for us.
Yeah. I mean, like your oil would get almost timed out. Like it's breaking down. I mean, maybe 1,000 hours straight, maybe, but 1,000, over 4 years, that oil will be gone through so many heat cycles of cold and thawing in the winter and condensation. Oh boy, I couldn't imagine the
Farm equipment doesn't work in the cleanest conditions either. Like, we're in all different types of dust. That just scares me at that kind of hour interval,
Yeah, it
honestly.
does. And me too. And maybe I should chat. I'm just about positive it's 1,000 hour change in 12.
I believe that. So the one thing I noticed there, I caught one of your videos the other day, Ken. You brought in your fuel already, and actually that got me starting and talking to our local co-op, because we also have a tank about the same size as yours, and there is some massive savings. And I know I checked with our local co-op; they're still going to get 1 cent a liter on if we went to the direct route, but you went direct fuel, and that actually got myself and other guys talking more about that direct from the refinery fuel.
Well, I know it's definitely a big savings or whatever, but also you got to count the cost to carry. I use one in tank and a little bit a year, so you get one shot to get your price right or whatever. But you have it in store, you have it on the farm, and that's worth a lot to me.
Well, that's it. Dad often mentions that too, with some of the world economics and politics going on. And fuel could, you wouldn't think it's going to happen, but it could double overnight or become, in COVID times, it dropped to almost worthless. And then all of a sudden, in 4 years later, it's gone up 4 times in value. So got me checking into it, because if I can save, 9 to, some people said up to 17 cents a liter by getting a direct drop off on the amount of liters that we burn a year, that's $20,000-$30,000 a year just in fuel savings.
That almost buys you a tank.
Yeah, like I paid my tank by the time it was just under 30,000 by the time I set up my tank and stuff. So it wasn't horrendously expensive, that's for sure. Whatever. But if you have to get a double walled, you're just about tripling the cost almost.
I've heard nothing but horror stories about double wall, because they're just a big air pocket full of condensation and rust between them. You're better with your single wall, which paint on the outside and fuel on the inside.
But I know if you want TikTok engagement, talking about co-op fuel is the way to get it. Some people just it's a love-hate relationship, I tell you, some people.
Yeah, we're co-op fuel people here too. We have been for as long as I can remember. And honest to goodness, as long as you're changing the fuel filters fairly regularly, we don't seem to ever battle any water issues or contaminant issues. It seems to work very fine for our operation.
Yeah, no, we're co-op here too, fairly strong, and it's rare that we got to change a fuel filter. Like, sometimes they almost rust off. That's how often we need to change a fuel filter around here. So we've had very good luck with our local co-op, and our local co-op, we do price around other places, and so far they've been the most competitive ones.
Well, UFA is coming into our area. They've got a few locations now, and I guess that's good. More competition is always good.
But yeah, a lot of these small communities, the co-op has been the heart and soul of a lot of these little towns and businesses. So if you lose that co-op, I mean, that's a major hit to a lot of these places. That was always a fear of mine. If we took our business and went direct from the refinery, that the co-op doesn't. But they do get a little bit of that money still at the local co-op that you buy through.
They still make money off of it.
Yeah, I don't think you get your equity on that, but I mean, our equity around here gets pretty massive. So if they eliminate taking the equity off right off the bat, well, that's just helping me on the cost of carrying too, because I'm not paying for that equity that I'll get back later on.
I'm sure we get equity on the direct drops.
Yeah, I was told we didn't get equity on that, so
okay.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But again, it's, to bleed into this next little bit here. I mean, fuel savings is a fuel savings, which is, helping out with, with the expenditures on the farm, because we all know that everything we do is expensive and it's stressful. And like, if you've caught many of these before, Tyler and I are big advocates for the farm stress line here in Saskatchewan, which is 1-800-667. Let me double check my notes here.
1-800.
Yep, 667-4442. The mental wellness for Saskatchewan farmers and ranchers is a major organization that does the world of good. And there is so many more programs than just the farm stress line available to us out there. I mean, you can get up to 6 free hours of one-on-one counseling with a trained professional, because what we do is dangerous and scary and stressful, and we work incredibly hard hours. And we end up taking a lot of that stress home with us. And that whole stereotype that the big tough ranchers and farmers, they can do everything, is wrong. We can't. And it ends up getting incredibly hard on marriages, hard on farms, hard on children, hard on operations. So if you're having a hard time with it, you're not alone. And there is help. I mean, just call that number. There's going to be somebody on the other end. You don't have to give their name. You don't have to get their name, but they're there to help you. They're there to listen. They're to help guide us through some of these tough times because it's not easy. And the last thing we need to do is somebody do something stupid when there's help available to help us talk us through this. And, and I've been lucky enough, and I have several of them now. Saskatchewan Mental Health and Wellness there has passed out these refrigerator magnets. They had booths at the farm shows. They had booths at SARM. There's a dozen numbers on here, right from the kids' help phone to the farm stress line. They got that little QR code. You can scan it in your phone. There is a lot of good out there. And there's a lot of people that are battling these issues. And just the big thing I'm letting everybody know, you're not alone. I've talked to guys personally that have called this number and said it's been a life-changing event, being able to get through these tough times because, that goes all the way back to BSE and cattle. And now we're into, politics and all that stuff. It's stressful. And it's not mom and pop's operations anymore. We are operating major big businesses that are tied to our personal accounts, basically. We are responsible for these loans, but we're not alone. That's what my big thing I always say. You're not alone. It's out there for us to use.
Well, I commend you, Dallas and Tyler, for talking about this and bringing it up. Like, just talking about it to normalize getting help. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's everybody has troubles. And to be able to talk to somebody about it helps. It helps immensely. And like Pete, if you listen to him, he always talks about that 15 minutes. I think it's like take some time to talk to somebody you haven't heard from in a month or two and just phone them and talk to them for 15 minutes and see how they're doing. And that helps immensely. And I hope it helps immensely. But everybody struggles. Like everybody has battles. You don't see them. Like some people may have less than others, but there's stuff going behind the scenes with everybody that you don't see. And you don't see their battles.
We are really good at putting on a big front and not letting the world know that we're suffering. And we all do it. And so that's, we had one of our guests here. He had a friend commit suicide a few years ago, and it's still hard, because that's the last thing you ever want to do. It's not so much connected to agriculture, but it was a friend, and it hurts. If his buddy would have maybe called that, suicide crisis number, he might not have lost him.
811.
811. That's it right there. Yep. The health line. Yep. That's huge. And, we had.
That one is nationwide, by the way.
One, yeah, that's North American wide. And we had Dylan on here a little while ago. Dylan Tellier, who's very open and admitted that he's an alcoholic. And that's something to do with stress also is alcoholism and farming do go hand in hand. He's really pushes that on his page that you can do it without alcohol. And it's just, he was using that alcohol as a crutch, he said. And that's, but he was smart enough and young enough to know that he had to get away from it. And I give him all the credit for doing that and being very open with his story. And then he was on here with us, and he was also, like you, Ken, he was thankful for what we're trying to get our message across. I know it sounds like I'm rambling, because I am, but it also means a lot to me that they are programs available to us. We just have to know that you can make a call and you're not being judged by nobody. It's there. It's free. It's easy. And it probably will be life-changing for the better. That's the big thing. It's for the better. It's to help us all get through this.
Yeah, like farming is incredibly dangerous. It's incredibly working alone. You don't have to, the battles you don't have to fight alone.
No.
Whatever. And all these people bragging about working 25 hours a day or whatever online and stuff, it's almost a detriment because I know you have to get the job done, but doing that day after day after day is somebody's going to get killed. And I've known a few people that got killed in our area, and it's tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, because
you take the time.
Yeah, because you leave a lot of people behind, and then the people that have gone and done the suicide. Ag with Emma, we who's hopefully Emma, if you're listening to this, we plan on having you on this podcast. Get back to us, please. She lost her brother to suicide, and that's his pain might be over, but the pain that he put his entire family through, I've never met the woman, in her story brought a tear to my eye to see how much pain that she was going through having to deal with this and the 1-year anniversary.
Suicide isn't the option. You maybe end your pain, but the pain you're feeling, you just pass that on to your family and your other loved ones.
10 times.
Yeah. And it's such a battle, though, I think. And I won't even comment because I don't suffer. And I can't comment. And
I don't have them thoughts either. And just, can deal with it. But I know some days when I can't deal with it, I know what number I'm calling.
I'm involved in a marketing club in Humboldt. And
Pyramid scam?
it's some of the best farmers around, I would say. Like, there's no real huge farmer on it or whatever, but some of the smartest people around. And there's about 20 of us, and it's kind of the modern coffee shop. But everybody has like a certain commodity they take care of. Like, I take care of oats, and I'll give a presentation every second week on oats price and stuff, on what it's doing and what the market fundamentals are and stuff like that.
Well,
and
that's cool.
it is fantastic. And I would, if anybody could set that up in their area, it is fun. It takes quite a bit of work from the main guy that organizes it, Aaron, but I really appreciate it. It's a strong group of farmers, and it's a good way to talk. It's kind of like almost like this podcast where you just talk and bullshit a little bit, and you talk about markets and where the good prices are and what they think is going to happen and what the crops were like in their area. It encompasses probably guys from just about Saskatoon to, I guess, our farm or whatever, so 70, 80 miles apart or whatever, and it's a wide area, so we get quite a few different crops and stuff, and it's just interesting to hear what other people's struggles are and stuff like that. And I would recommend
how did all that get started?
Like it's a modern coffee shop almost.
How did all that get started?
It got started by our parents in the mid-'80s. Like, the Saskatchewan government had a program to set these up. I think ours is about the only one left. So the parents started up, and then their kids kind of took over for the parents when they quit or whatever. So everybody, the oldest guy would be like 65, 70, and the youngest guy would be 25 to 30. You know? And good farmers, got a few cattle guys and guys that go lentils and durum and stuff. So I would highly recommend. I know it's a lot of work, but trying to set something like that up.
That would be kind of cool, because I know my marketing skills, I've said before many times, don't follow me for marketing skills, because mine are probably some of the worst in the history of farming going on here the last few years, So, and that'd be neat just to get together with the guys, and just like you said here, just like us, just like me, you, and Tyler talking around here, but BSing about prices and what's working and what's not working, and what you think's going to be happening, and then you end up going to get into politics, because that is driving all of these prices. I know I'm going to order my first Chinese electric car here as soon as I can to save the canola market.
Me too. Yeah. I'm definitely
Yeah, I for the amount of money lost by just the value of canola dropping in the bin that we still have, I could buy a little electric car, and I could probably crush it and make a cool video over it, and then the price of canola would go up, and I'm still a win-win.
Yeah. Yeah, and like knowing about the specials and finding them out and stuff, and that's what that marketing club helps. Like, we have a WhatsApp group, and if something comes up that's special or whatever, they'll post it on there, so we all know about it.
ADM has an oat special, and they're looking to fill it. I mean, Bang Zoom, you get a text, I have oats, or whatever. I'm just making something up, but I mean, that'd be, I never thought about that. There's a lot of, little, it's almost like insider information in a way. Like, you can learn things faster, one person to the next person to WhatsApp, and boom, you could have a contract.
It's a very good group, good, strong group of farmers in it. It's not the biggest farmers in the world, I would say, probably just a strong group of guys.
Have you ever thought about on your TikTok channel maybe doing like a once a month little blurb on the commodities you're following?
I thought about it, but I try to stay away from politics and stuff on my TikTok. Like, I have a lot of stuff to say or whatever, but I try and keep it off.
Yeah, me too.
That's because why I quit X. I got so mad at some people and stuff. And with Twitter, you can see their facial expressions and stuff, right? Yeah. On TikTok.
Yeah.
And with Twitter and stuff, you lose a lot of that.
Yeah. You could really be a keyboard warrior on Twitter. You have a lot of times to sit there and then nice thing about the old TikTok, I made a video the other day. I had somebody say a comment on there, and it rubbed me the wrong way, and I read it and I reviewed it and I read it and I clicked on his profile and I blocked him. So that was the end of that comment. It's like, you know what? It's bugging me now. It's going to bug me for a while. You know what? I can solve this just by making you go away.
Yeah. And it takes a strong person to do that and not think about it and just do it.
Well, and like this TikTok for me is just like this podcast. It's something besides farming hobby that I have. I enjoy doing it. There's zero money in it. So far, the only thing I've received out of this is some beef jerky, which is excellent. If you're at the local co-op gas
I'll
station.
do this for beef jerky all day long.
Yeah, You know, beef jerky, all we need is a pretzel sponsor to come on board here, or Hawkins Cheesies or something, and man, we'll have her made. But so yeah, something like that, just if it's gonna bug you and now it's, it's no longer enjoyable, your comments pissing me off, or you ran down my family or the hired men we have around here, or you don't like my color of my machinery, you know what, you can spread your garbage on somebody else's post, but you're not putting it on mine.
Yeah. And I'll never disparage somebody for the machinery they own or anything like that.
Oh yeah,
Everybody has a way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I am not brand specific at all. I mean, we do have a lot more on the New Holland stuff because it seems like the New Holland dealer has been really good. But the last couple of years, I mean, our Vatterstad drills both come from the Case dealer, and they've been treating us really good. Young's Equipment has been a really good dealer, and Verasys has been a good dealer. And the little bit of green stuff we have, South Country, in the last few years has been pretty on the ball with keeping us going. And I think it's more the farm size has something to do with it. And I think now the social media presence that, I have, and my social media presence is nothing compared to a lot of the big TikTokers and YouTubers, but it's still enough that, they want to work with you, and I don't think I could ever make a bad bashing video. I've made them. I've never uploaded them, but I've made them, but I don't think I could ever upload one. I could get too mean too fast.
Yeah, I hope I never, I know I put up a video of our combine when I was plugged and what other guys do to get it unplugged and stuff. And I had a phone call from our dealer within half an hour. I wasn't doing it to get bashed or bashing him or anything. And it's how do you unplug this damn thing? What are other guys having success with, right?
Last spring, we lost a shank off that Vatterstad air drill, the brand new one. Within minutes, I had one of the engineers messaging me through TikTok at Vatterstad, wanting to know what went on there. And I was like, well, no. It was actually just a dealer installed. A couple of bolts weren't tight. Drove up and down the field with the quad. We found it, bolted it back on. But at that time, when you're making the first pass with a piece of machinery, you don't expect to have the knives to start falling off. It's kind of a bad omen.
Yeah, but I also worked at Burgos and when I was 19, and I guarantee you I would have did something like that.
Oh, yeah. And that just shows how small this world is now with the internet and how fast something can get around it for just making a video. And, all of a sudden, I look at a video sometimes, I'm like, this video has 32 shares or whatever. Who the hell is sharing this video? You often wonder, I wonder why they're sharing it. I wonder what their comment. You can't think about that stuff, but it gets to the right guy. Well, I know the engineer at Vatterstad, and boom, within seconds, hey, watch this video, and all of a sudden 10 minutes later, I'm going to call, hey, what happened? Which I think is also respectful too, that they want to make sure they don't have them quality control issues. But now I think we are running a little bit long on this podcast. And Ken, you've been wonderful to come sit down and visit with us.
I was really happy to talk to you guys. You guys are such just genuine good people. You hear some other people and they just something comes off a little bit funny with them. I shouldn't say it. Everybody, I've never met a bad person for the most part. Everybody, when you talk to them, is a good person for the most part.
But the one thing we're just trying to do is just promote, first of all, Saskatchewan agriculture, and then Western Canada agriculture, Canadian agriculture, and, and North American agriculture. Because within, where I'm at, I'm 34 miles from the border. So 34 miles south, it's the exact same agriculture.
But we all have the same issues, the same railways, the same borders, the same government.
The same late payments. We're running with the same businesses that go bankrupt. I mean, there's some poor farmers. What was that lentil company that went tits up and didn't have enough bond here out of Swift Current a few years ago? That was a terrible one.
Yeah, and there's something like that every year.
Yeah, and they're licensed and bonded. Well, it didn't cover all the grain that they owed, so you're getting 50 cents on the dollar. Well, that could put a lot of farms under.
Yep. Yeah, now that's something where maybe we should be doing credit checks on the guys buying our grain or whatever. Let's have a bank secured note or whatever, right?
Yep. Well, I remember years ago when I think Viterra was in trouble, but every time you'd unload a load of grain, they had a sheet of paper there saying Viterra is good for this load of grain. They're in, right before they were changing some ownership there. Man, I was a little nervous there hauling in grain, and here's a letter guaranteeing we have the money. Holy shit, that means you might not have the money someday. That's
why I grow a lot of smaller crops. I grow flax and green peas, and I don't grow canary seed anymore, but it's nervous sometimes selling to some of these guys, right?
And to keep going on the farming topic, how did the green peas and the moisture turn out? I followed them videos there.
Well, the other two loads ended up being in the 12s. But they did dock me for drying like $1,000 for that one load. I was a little bit choked about that.
And didn't they actually have a dryer?
I don't have no idea.
I want to see your dryer and your propane bill if I'm going to pay this bill. But then they just deduct it off your check.
Yeah, the buyer said he'll make it up. He said, there's nothing I can do about it, but I promise he'll make it up. So
yeah. Years ago, we shipped out some mustard that actually went to your part of the world up there. And the local places around here, the mustard at that time was 3.5 to 4.5 dockage. She unloaded up there about 16%. Well, it didn't have that much dockage, but mustard prices went down and they couldn't pay the amount they were committed to paying. So the only way to pay less for that load is to jack the dockage up and pay us, 10% of nothing on a lot of it. And then you just grin and bear it because you can't prove it.
Yeah,
Yep.
I know. And that's where I wish the CGC had a little bit more bite. Like they say you have to tell them like within the first, like as they're unloading it, that you want to send a sample away to CGC. Well, what the heck good is that? I don't know until like 3 days later when I get the slip.
Yeah. Not too often. We've had some grain get picked up, and the truck driver, when he was unloading it in Winnipeg there, he would send me a picture every time. I love when that truck driver came of the unload slip. Here's the weight. Here's the dockage, because he didn't trust anybody. But you know what?
Oh.
I respect him for that. Here, this is yours. And that's another thing that I can't stand is, I think we've talked about this before, is them guys that they'll be phoning to pick up grain, and I'll ask them, hey, do you have to sweep out? And they get all sheepish. Yeah, I had corn on last. Okay, don't sweep out on the side of the freaking grid road. Come into the yard. I got some tubs. We got a few cows.
Yeah.
Sweep out in the yard here. We'll throw it in, a couple of pails. And they've all been really good about that. So that's what I tell them. Don't sweep out in the highway. I don't need them piles of grain on the edge of the road or in the field. Just do it in the yard and we'll get rid of it in here.
Yeah, we're the same way.
Yeah, bring it to the yard. But Tyler, I'd like to thank you for giving me another kick at the can here and having a wonderful time shooting the BS with you. Because like you said, every time we're having a ball doing this. We got some merch on the way that's going to start off with Tyler and myself and a few other guys going to have some stuff to begin with. And we're going to see if anybody wants some in the future.
Yeah,
we're going to try to make it. Yeah, we're going to see if we make it available. And we're trying to find a place. And I think maybe we did find a place that would be willing to handle almost everything. Eliminate.
Yeah, you don't have to package it up and send it away, I'd assume.
No, I don't. And Dixon there, Quick Dick, he does that all on his own, and I give him credit, but I can't. But at the same time, we're at different places in our life. He's a single man. I'm married with a kid, and Tyler's married with a couple of kids, and that's he's able to do it. But Tyler and I both want to find somebody that just wants to go, hey, the merch goes through XYZ company.
Well, kids are an incredible amount of work.
That they are. I got both mine in diapers yet, and it's a lot of work.
It gets better and worse at the same time. Like, once they get in school activities, it's just you're running away everywhere. But I love my kids. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very blessed to have the one that we have, and and being out here in the farm with her and playing with her, the few cows that we have, and it's really getting her involved in agriculture. And we're not chasing the hockey sticks around. Well, not with her, with my nephews we are, but again, dance, music. She's going to take up some curling. We stay busy.
That's good.
Thanks, Tyler. Thanks, Ken. We're the Bunny Hug Farmers. And we've really enjoyed this, and we're gonna do Where Are They Now in a year or so, and Ken, you're gonna be back. Thanks, everybody.